G'day Crustacean Nation, Sir Fronalot here with another video. Today we're looking at my shrimp tank. As you can see, it's gone a bit crazy. We've got algae going everywhere, which is fine. I was sort of intending on this to happen. This is really good biofilm and obviously algae build-up for the shrimp to eat. So I'm not, upset that it's gone crazy like this, and obviously I've left it to go like this. I'm going to do some water testing with some of these API test strips, and we're just going to see where it's at. It's been almost 2 months that it's been set up for, so hopefully the nitrates and the ammonia will be dying down a bit, and it won't be so harsh for the shrimpies, and hopefully the KH and the GH and stuff like that is where it's meant to be, because I've been remineralizing the water a bunch and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and do the test, and then I'll probably do a water change and clear out a bunch of the algae. So I'm sure most of you know how to use these little test strips. I don't actually have the water liquid tests, but this will do for what I want it for, I think. I'm just going to give it a little swirl. So I've just tested the water there. It's been about 30 seconds, so the KH and the GH has gone a bit wonky, but they're around where I wanted them to be, which is perfect. So there's like no KH and there's about 100 GH or 130 GH, I think, which is great. The pH is about, I want to say it's 6.5, but it's a bit less than 6.5, I think, which is fine for what I'm doing. There's no nitrite, but there is a bit of nitrate, and that's sort of a given with the substrate that I'm using. I haven't done as many water changes that I would like to, so I'm going to do probably one more, and then we'll test it in a week or so, and then hopefully it'll be ready for the little shrimpies. So it was no surprise that the nitrate is a little higher than I'd like. Obviously with all the algae, it's sort of an indicator when there's something going on in the water. It could be there's too much light, but it can also mean there's a bit too much nutrients or nitrate or something like that. So I'm glad I had those tests to check it out. I hadn't had the tests for quite a while, so it's about time that I got some more. So I'm going to go ahead and clear out most of the algae on the front. I'm going to try and attack the Java moss that has been covered in algae. That's going to be a bit of a tricky one, but I'm going to see what I can do. I'm probably going to clean all the algae off the rock, and probably the long stringy hair algae that's around the top and stuff. I will leave a little bit though, because as I've said, it's good food for the shrimp and it's also good cover, and we're just going to see how much we can actually get rid of. Obviously it doesn't need to be perfect. I don't want this tank to be, it's crystal clear, because it's not a display tank, it's more of a breeding tank, and it's going to be more for just looking at the shrimp there, not trying to show off an aquascape or something like that. I know this algae may look quite horrifying to a lot of people, but it's really not hard to get rid of. And so as some of you may know, that I've been doing quite a bit of sponge cutting, and I have this little cut off bit that I wasn't going to use for anything, but I thought it might work to get a bit of the algae off. Obviously things are going to stick to it, so I'm going to try getting some algae off with this bit of sponge. I know you can use a toothbrush, but this is just for my own sort of learning, I guess, and see how it goes. I'm just sort of going to spaghetti curl it up. So we're just going to try and get rid of all the floating stuff, all the big blobs of it with this. It's going to work. I guess the downside is it's going to get very tangled into the sponge, but that's fine. And it's okay that I'm making a mess, because I am going to do a water change, which means I'll just take all the floating algae. And there's the bit of an issue. I guess it bends a bit to the weight of the algae. Alright, I'm probably not going to use that technique. Also, you may have noticed my fancy feeding tube that I've added. This will be really handy when I need to feed my shrimp. I can just slide the lid off a little bit and throw the food down the little hole, and it goes straight into the bowl. So I'm going to do the rest of the cleaning off camera, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done, and yeah, I'll get my hands a bit grubby. Update on this tank, as you can see the water level is down. It's not quite half. I decided to just do maybe like a third and a bit of a water change, but the algae is quite cleared up and it's looking pretty nice. Like I said, I'm not going to get every little bit of algae. It's fine that there's some left, but it's a bit of a struggle sometimes with the algae. So this is what I use to remineralize my water. This is Salty Shrimp B Shrimp GH+. It's really handy for remineralizing RO water or rainwater. In my case it's rainwater. So I fill up these 2 tubs full of rainwater, lug them inside, and then I put them on top of my rack up on that spot there. I can run a hose down into any of the tanks and just automatically sort of fill them up. So usually if it's the guppy tank or the betta tank of any kind, I'll just use normal tap water. But when it comes to the shrimp tank, I like to remineralize it and use the rainwater. So it's really handy to be able to put them in these tubs. I can either put the tubs outside, fill them up, and then leave them outside, or I can fill them upside, put them on my rack, and then they'll warm up a bit. Or I can just leave them empty and fill them up and use them as more of like a bucket to just transfer the water. So this tub is 15 litres, and to add in this salty shrimp remineralizer, there's a little spoon in here. I usually put in a little less than I'm meant to, and then I'll add in a tiny bit more. Obviously, you know, if you put too much in, then you go, oh, you've got too much, and you can't really take that out very easily. So I like to go less is more in a way. So it does say 1 spoonful is for 20 litres of water. I found that to be wrong. When I do 1 spoon, it usually gets me about 150 or 130 TDS. Which is fine though, it means I get more bang for my buck, but just test it yourself if you ever do use this product. It's not like it's bad or anything, it's great for what it does. It's just you got to make sure that, you know, you don't just trust it and you don't test it. You want to, you know exactly what's going on there. But definitely recommend it. It's used by pretty much every shrimp keeper, or most shrimp keepers anyway, and it works really well. So I'll just go ahead and test the water with the old TDS. I have a feeling this isn't going to be the right amount. Yeah, it says 73. The reason for this is because I actually used half of this bucket full of tap water, and I used that to fill up my other tanks, and then I haven't actually changed it completely. So I filled it up with half rainwater, half tap water, which means it probably has a really high KH, because my water is pretty hard. So I'm going to have to probably empty out this tub. I may just do a quick water change on another tank, and then we'll see how it goes. I know this tub will have the right amount of TDS that I'm looking for, so let's go ahead and try that. Let's go, there we go, back to 0. Maybe it's a bit harder at the moment. That's not going to be great. Let's see. So that one's saying 35. That's a bit of a worry. So both the tubs have a higher TDS than they're meant to. This one, well, they're both meant to be around 4 or 5. My rainwater is usually that. So this could be a few different things, which is not great. Either means that my rainwater or my rainwater tanks have got something in it that is not meant to be there. Or, which is most likely, there's been some residue or a little bit of water left in each tub that was tap water and has caused the TDS to go up. So I'm just going to go ahead and empty probably just this one for the moment. I'll wash it out, really give it a good rinse with rainwater, and then I'll fill it up again and we'll see how the TDS is going. So I've cleaned it out a couple times, just going to have a test. So let's say 24. Alright, so it's at 24, a bit higher than I would have liked, but I think it will do. So there's about 25 TDS in there. I'm assuming most of that is KH. So we're going to jump over and add in the GH and see how we do. The reason I don't want KH in it is because it isn't necessarily great for the shrimp that I'm going to keep, and it's going to reduce the lifespan or the lifetime of the AD Amazonia soil. So if you don't know, ADA Amazonia soil has a buffering ability, or it buffers the water to a certain pH, and it does that by pretty much taking away the KH. So the more KH you put in it, the less it will be able to do that. So I'm not super keen on KH getting in there. So I just added a teaspoon of the salty shrimp remineralizer. Great thing about these tubs is you can just screw the lid on, give it a bit of a shake to stir in all of the powder. So I just added a few more little scoops in and gave it a good shake each time. I checked it every time I added some more in. And I believe, We are now at the magic number of 140, which is what my tank is at the moment. So that tub is now filling up the tank. Just got this bit of hose, it's coming out. That's probably going to be the amount of speed or I guess flow that I'm going to fill up the tank when I have shrimp, just so it's a nice slow fill up. It's not going to be instant or anything like that, and it's not going to be too much of a change. Like I said, the water in here was around 135 TDS, so 140 isn't too bad, and now I'm going to add in the other bucket. So the first tub finished emptying out, and it's gotten the tank to about full. I sort of use this as the measuring line, so when it's just about over that tube, that's when I sort of stop. So I'm happy to leave it there and not use the other tub at all. Just saves me a trip of getting the water. As you can see, the heater turned on because the water change was pretty cold water because I hadn't had it sitting inside. Once again, when I get my shrimp, I'm going to have the water ready to go inside so it's warm enough. And yeah, tank's looking much better. Obviously there's still a bit of algae, and I said that's fine, I'm happy to have it there. I don't want to see people getting mad about the algae, it's all good, chill out. But I'm really keen to get the shrimp. I think this tank is pretty well ready to go. So it's just a matter of me finding a seller and yeah, buying up some shrimpies. So that'll have to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I really hope you learned something from this. It's still sort of a learning curve for me, so I really hope I got everything right. If I did say anything incorrect, please feel free to correct me. Any feedback like that is great. I'm fairly sure this tank is ready to go, so expect some shrimpies very shortly, and I'll catch you in the next one.